What if the answer to your rising blood pressure wasn't buried in some medical breakthrough or locked behind a pharmacy counter, but already sitting quietly in your kitchen, waiting to be noticed? What if instead of hearing another lecture about what you can't eat, you finally heard something hopeful, something real, about what you can eat to turn things around? If you're over 60 and tired of restrictions, tired of diets that fail, tired of being told, "That's just aging," then listen closely, because what I'm about to share with you might be the most empowering message you've heard in long time. This isn't about magic pills. It's not about extreme diets. It's not about fear. It's about food, real, simple, powerful food, and how the right bite at the right time can quietly and steadily change the course of your health. You see, for years we've been told to cut things out, lower the salt, eliminate the sugar, avoid the fat. But almost no one tells us what to add, what to invite into our meals that actually helps fight back, that supports our bodies as they age, that gives us a tool, not a warning. And the truth is, there are foods that do this. Not exotic superfoods from the other side of the world. Not $80 supplements from infomercials. But everyday ingredients that, when used consistently, have been shown to lower triglycerides, reduce blood pressure, and restore a sense of balance many seniors thought they'd lost for good. Today, we're going to talk about 5 of them. 5 foods, 5 stories, 5 small choices with big results. And we're starting with a powerhouse that's probably been in your pantry since you were a child, but one you may have never truly appreciated: garlic. Yes, garlic. That humble, pungent bulb we toss into sauces or rub onto toast without much thought. But garlic is more than just a flavor booster, it's a biological ally. At the center of its healing power is a compound called allicin, released when garlic is chopped, crushed, or chewed. Allicin doesn't just make garlic smell strong, it makes garlic act strong, flooding your bloodstream with anti-inflammatory and antioxidant effects that go far beyond taste. You see, allicin helps reduce the liver's production of triglycerides, the fats that float through your blood, clog arteries, and raise your risk for heart disease. At the same time, it keeps your blood vessels flexible and dilated, improving circulation and lowering the pressure your heart has to pump against. That's not folk wisdom. That's modern science catching up to what our grandparents somehow already knew. Let me tell you about Harold. 80 years old, retired army mechanic, tough as they come. Harold never bought into natural remedies. He believed in grit and discipline. But one day, during a routine appointment, his doctor gently pointed out his blood pressure was creeping up. Nothing dramatic, but enough to warrant attention. Harold didn't want to add another medication to his list, so he tried something simple: raw garlic, twice a day. 1 clove with breakfast, 1 with dinner. He didn't expect much. In fact, he complained that it made his breath strong enough to kill houseplants. But 3 months later, his numbers spoke louder than his skepticism. His systolic blood pressure dropped from 146 to 124. His triglycerides were down too. And for the first time in years, Harold said he felt lighter, like his blood was actually flowing better. Garlic didn't change his life overnight, but it became part of a new rhythm. A small daily act of self-respect that slowly, quietly, began to tip the scales back in his favor. And here's the thing: garlic's benefits don't stop at triglycerides or blood pressure. Studies show it also supports healthy cholesterol levels and may aid in blood sugar regulation, both crucial for seniors managing multiple conditions. Plus, it's affordable, accessible, and incredibly versatile. You can roast it, crush it, mince it into salad dressings, or swallow tiny pieces raw if you're brave. And yes, it smells, but the best medicines usually do. The secret is consistency. Garlic won't help if it's a once-a-month novelty. But if you build it into your routine, if you trust it the way your body wants to trust itself again, it can become a quiet hero in your fight for better health. Because after 60, every small choice matters. Every nutrient counts. And every day you choose to support your body instead of scolding it, you win. So if you're looking for a place to begin, a place to start taking back control without turning your world upside down, let it begin with something simple. Something sharp, something ancient and strong. Let it begin with garlic. 2. Oats. Key nutrient. Soluble fiber, beta-glucan. Benefits. Binds with fats and cholesterol, reducing their absorption. Stabilizes blood sugar, reducing liver-driven triglyceride spikes. Contains avenanthramides, which relax blood vessels and reduce pressure. Real example, George, 77, incorporated oats and saw a decade low in triglycerides. If garlic is your fiery first ally, then oats are your quiet, dependable companion. The kind of friend who shows up every morning and says, "Let's keep things steady today." It's strange, isn't it? How something so plain, so beige and basic could hold the key to reducing triglycerides, balancing blood sugar, and smoothing out the wild ride your heart has been on for decades. Yet the science keeps proving it again and again. Oats aren't just a breakfast food. They're a frontline defense, a daily armor that works from the inside out, not by force, but by function. And the magic lies in their fiber, not just any fiber, but beta-glucan, a soluble fiber that transforms into a gel-like net inside your gut, sweeping up fats and cholesterol and dragging them out before they can even reach your bloodstream. And in doing so, it lightens the load on your liver, which no longer has to work overtime processing excess fats into harmful triglycerides. It's like giving your body a break from the mess and saying, "We'll handle cleanup for you today." And what's more, this gel also slows down the absorption of sugar, preventing the spikes and crashes that wreak havoc on your metabolic rhythm. Because whether you're pre-diabetic, or just tired of feeling like your energy disappears right after lunch, oats help restore stability, and that stability matters more after 60 than ever before, when your body is less forgiving of extremes, less tolerant of shock, and more in need of balance. Now let me tell you about George, 77, a retired school bus driver with a sweet tooth and a long-standing relationship with diner breakfasts, who once told me, "I thought oatmeal was just old people mush." But after his cardiologist suggested trying oats daily to lower his triglycerides, he gave it a shot reluctantly at first, mixing it with maple syrup and bananas, then blueberries and cinnamon, then savory versions with olive oil and herbs, and the transformation was slow but steady, like a sunrise instead of a lightning strike. And after 3 months, his lab showed a drop in triglycerides that shocked both him and his doctor. But even more meaningful than the numbers was the way he felt. Fewer cravings, fewer midday crashes, and something he hadn't felt in years, digestive ease. He said it was like his body finally stopped fighting him every step of the way. And what I love about oats isn't just their effect, but their accessibility. They're cheap, shelf-stable, easy to prep, and adaptable to whatever tastes or textures you enjoy. They can be eaten hot or cold, made ahead as overnight oats, blended into smoothies, or even baked into muffins with heart-healthy ingredients. And if you're thinking, "I hate the texture," then you haven't explored all your options, because there's a version of oats for everyone. And the key is not in perfection, but in repetition. A small bowl a day can slowly restore your lipid profile, smooth your blood sugar, and improve satiety, which means you're not snacking on processed carbs by 10 a.m. And here's something most people don't know. Oats also contain antioxidants called avenanthramides, which help dilate blood vessels and reduce inflammation, making them allies. Not just in fat control, but in direct blood pressure regulation too. In other words, oats aren't just food, they're strategy. And the best part is, they don't feel like medicine. They feel like comfort. They're warm, soothing, and nostalgic, reminding you that not all healing has to taste like punishment. Sometimes healing tastes like something your grandmother used to make. And that's the beauty of this entire approach, using food not just as avoidance, but as action, as intervention, as prevention. So if you've been frustrated with your numbers, discouraged by what you've had to give up, or simply tired of waking up to confusion instead of clarity, let oats be the calm in the storm, the foundation that your body can trust again. Because no matter how complicated your health has become, the answer doesn't always lie in restriction. Sometimes it lies in rebuilding one spoonful at a time. 3. Beets. Key components: dietary nitrates and betalains. Benefits: increased nitric oxide, which improves blood flow and lowers pressure. Reduce inflammation and support liver function for better fat metabolism. Real example: Carol, 68, lowered her triglycerides and improved energy by adding beets twice a week. Some foods shout for attention with color alone, and none do it louder or more beautifully than the beet, that deep red root that often gets pushed to the side of the plate or left behind on the buffet table, misunderstood for its earthiness, overlooked because of its texture, but quietly holding some of the most remarkable health-supporting compounds in the produce aisle. And the irony is almost poetic, isn't it? That something once served reluctantly at school lunches or boiled to oblivion in canned form is actually one of the most powerful allies in your fight against high blood pressure and triglycerides. And for seniors over 60, this isn't a matter of opinion, it's biochemistry, because beets are rich in dietary nitrates, compounds that your body transforms into nitric oxide, a molecule that does one crucial thing very well. It tells your blood vessels to relax, to open, to let go of that tight grip that pushes your blood pressure higher with every passing year. And that gentle widening of your vessels improves circulation, reduces strain on the heart, and invites a calm into your system that most medications try to imitate but rarely replicate without side effects. But there's more. Beets also contain powerful antioxidants, especially betalains, which help reduce inflammation and oxidative stress. And if you're dealing with stubborn triglyceride levels, chronic inflammation might be the real culprit, because when your body is inflamed, your liver kicks into overdrive, producing more fats, disrupting blood sugar, and straining your entire cardiovascular system. But by introducing anti-inflammatory foods like beets, you begin to calm that storm from within, not suppressing the symptoms, but addressing the environment that created them. And here's where beets really shine. They love your liver. And your liver, as you may already know, is the central processing unit for triglycerides, and beets contain betaine and folate, two nutrients that help your liver metabolize fats more efficiently, which means less leftover fat floating in your bloodstream, and more of it being broken down and cleared properly. And let's not forget the role beets play in supporting digestion, energy, and stamina. Athletes drink beet juice for performance, but seniors drink it to feel like themselves again, more energized, more alert, more regular. And all it takes is a little creativity and an open mind. And speaking of open minds, let me tell you about Carol, 68, who hadn't eaten a beet since 1972, when her mother served her canned slices on a plate of iceberg lettuce. "I thought they tasted like dirt," she told me. But after her doctor mentioned she was borderline for both triglycerides and blood pressure, she decided to try something new, or rather, revisit something old with a new approach. She began roasting fresh beets with olive oil, tossing them with arugula and goat cheese, and eating that salad twice a week, and within 8 weeks, not only had her triglyceride numbers dropped, but she also noticed her mood lifting and her energy returning. "I feel sharper," she said, "less foggy." And that's when it clicked. Not every solution needs to be difficult. Sometimes it just needs to be consistent, and beets are nothing if not consistent, with fiber to support digestion, low calories to support weight management, and rich color that signals the nutrients your body is quietly begging for. And the best part? Beets aren't demanding. They don't need to be eaten daily. Just 2 or 3 times a week can provide noticeable benefits. And they're versatile. Roasted, boiled, shredded raw, juiced, or even baked into chocolate cake if you want to disguise them. And if you're still stuck on the flavor, remember that beets pair beautifully with citrus, vinegar, or creamy textures, and with a little seasoning. They transform from bland to bold, from earthy to elegant, and perhaps most importantly, from dismissed to celebrated. Because after all, when you're on a journey to rebuild your health, why not choose ingredients that work as hard as you do? 4. Tomatoes. Key compound, lycopene, especially effective when tomatoes are cooked. Benefits: lowers oxidative stress and artery inflammation, improves arterial flexibility, and reduces plaque buildup. Rich in potassium, which balances sodium and lowers blood pressure. Real example: Dennis, 81, improved blood markers and bloating by adding tomatoes daily. Some heroes wear red capes. Others sit quietly on your counter disguised as tomatoes ripe. Round, familiar, and so ordinary that we forget just how powerful they really are. And it's that very familiarity that makes them easy to overlook, because when you've been seeing tomatoes in salads, sauces, and sandwiches your entire life, it's easy to assume they're just filler, just garnish, just something you slice up and forget. But the truth is, tomatoes are warriors, silent ones with a molecular arsenal that targets the root causes of both high triglycerides and high blood pressure. And the core of their power lies in lycopene, a bright red antioxidant that doesn't just make tomatoes look vibrant. It makes your blood vessels more resilient, your inflammation levels more controlled, and your heart more protected. And what's fascinating about lycopene is that it becomes more potent when the tomato is cooked, which means those stews and sauces your grandmother used to simmer all day were more than comfort food. They were medicine in disguise. Now let's get technical but practical. Lycopene helps protect your blood vessels from oxidative stress, which is a fancy way of saying it shields the walls of your arteries from damage that leads to plaque buildup, stiffness, and eventual pressure spikes. It also reduces low-grade inflammation, which is one of the body's sneakiest and most underestimated threats, especially after 60. And it's not just about what it prevents, it's about what it encourages. Because tomatoes are also high in potassium, which helps your body rid itself of excess sodium. And this process helps relax blood vessel walls and balance fluid in your system, directly reducing your blood pressure in a gentle, natural way, without the crash of medication or the side effects that come from synthetic intervention. And perhaps what makes tomatoes so compelling is that they're easy. They don't require a new habit or a fancy recipe. They just need to show up more often, whether it's as a sauce on your pasta, a slice in your sandwich, a spoonful of salsa on your eggs, or even a bowl of soup on a chilly evening. It all counts. And each bite is another layer of defense between you and the chronic conditions trying to take your power away. Let me tell you about Dennis, 81, a former construction worker who once joked that vegetables only entered his diet by accident, like when they clung to a cheeseburger. But when his doctor raised concerns about both cholesterol and triglycerides, Dennis made one change. He added tomatoes to something every day. Sometimes just a little paste in his morning omelet, other times a full-baked dish with fresh tomato sauce. And what surprised him wasn't just the improvement in his blood work, it was how much better he felt. Less bloated, more regular, more clear-headed, and even lighter. "I didn't expect much," he said, "but I feel like I flushed out something I didn't know I was holding." And that's the beauty of tomatoes. They're not dramatic. They don't shout, but they work steadily, consistently, and comprehensively, offering not just lycopene and potassium, but also vitamin C, which supports blood vessel strength and further calms inflammation, all wrapped in a low-calorie, high-fiber package that your body accepts easily, without digestive rebellion or metabolic confusion. And if you're someone who struggled with restrictive diets or felt like improving your heart health meant cutting joy out of your meals, tomatoes might be your way back to flavor, color, and progress, all in one bite. And remember, it doesn't have to be raw. In fact, cooking your tomatoes enhances their benefit. So lean into the sauces, the broths, the bakes, and if you need to keep things simple, even low-sodium tomato juice can be part of your routine. Just check the label and go for purity over additives, because at the end of the day, what matters isn't how gourmet your meals are, it's how purposeful they are. And with tomatoes, the purpose is clear. Protect your heart, calm your blood vessels, and empower your plate without punishing your palate. That's not just smart nutrition, it's graceful aging. 5. Sardines. Key nutrients: omega-3 South, EPA and DHA, calcium, vitamin D, and protein. Benefits: reduce triglyceride production and improve clearance, decrease inflammation and arterial stiffness, support muscle, bone, and metabolic health. Key for seniors. Real example: Ralph, 74, saw a 30% drop in triglycerides by eating sardines 3 eggs a week. Let's end where most people would never expect to begin, with sardines. Yes, sardines, those small, shiny, often dismissed fish in the back of the canned goods aisle that you may have walked past 1,000 times without a second thought, or maybe with a slight grimace, thinking they were old-fashioned or too fishy, or just something your grandfather used to eat with crackers while listening to the radio. But behind that tin lid lies one of the most concentrated, affordable, and scientifically backed heart-protective foods you could ever put on your plate. And it's time we gave sardines the credit they deserve. Because when it comes to lowering triglycerides and supporting healthy blood pressure, they're not just good, they're remarkable. And it all comes down to one nutrient: omega to 3 fatty acids, specifically EPA and DHA, which are known for their ability to lower triglyceride levels by reducing fat production in the liver and increasing the clearance of excess fat from the bloodstream. And unlike many other omega-3 sources, sardines are small, low on the food chain, and therefore low in mercury, making them safer for frequent consumption, especially for seniors who may already be dealing with medication interactions or kidney function concerns. But the benefits of sardines go far beyond triglycerides, because omega-3 South also reduce inflammation improve arterial elasticity, and support the structure of your cardiovascular system, helping your heart do its job with less resistance and less strain. And that means lower blood pressure, better circulation, and more room for your heart to breathe, figuratively and literally. But wait, there's more. Sardines are also incredibly rich in calcium, vitamin D, and high-quality protein, all of which are essential for maintaining bone density, muscle strength, and metabolic balance. Especially after 60, when sarcopenia and osteoporosis begin to quietly erode your strength from within. And while supplements can help, nothing beats the bioavailability of nutrients from whole food. And sardines provide them all in one neat, portable package. Let me tell you about Ralph, 74, a retired postman who spent years ignoring his labs and joking about being too old to change. Until a scare in the AS sent him home with a new perspective and a prescription for omega-3 South he couldn't afford. So he looked into food alternatives and reluctantly gave sardines a try. He started small, just twice a week, mashed on toast or stirred into salad, and after 4 months, his triglycerides had dropped by nearly 30%. His doctor was stunned, and Ralph said, "I thought sardines were for cats, but apparently they're for smart old men too." And that story might sound funny, but it's more common than you think. Because sardines are one of the most accessible superfoods out there. Shelf-stable, inexpensive, and no cooking required, making them ideal for anyone who lives alone or doesn't want to fuss with pans and prep. And if the flavor worries you, there are ways to ease in. Try them packed in olive oil with lemon, or mix with mustard, vinegar, herbs, even a hard-boiled egg to create a protein-packed snack that doesn't taste fishy at all. And remember, the goal isn't to eat sardines every day. It's to include them regularly enough to support your body's natural ability to regulate fat, inflammation, and blood pressure, to give your heart the tools it needs to thrive, not just survive. Because sardines don't work by shocking your system, they work by reinforcing it. Steadily, predictably, quietly, like good habits always do. And perhaps what's most encouraging is that sardines offer more than just heart benefits. They also promote brain health, reduce joint inflammation, and support mood regulation, all of which become increasingly valuable as we age and face not just physical changes, but emotional ones too. So if you've spent your life chasing flavor, convenience, or tradition, and now find yourself searching for something more stability, more longevity, more control, then consider giving sardines a chance. Not as a sacrifice, but as an investment, one that doesn't cost much but pays off in clarity, strength, and maybe even the surprise satisfaction of knowing that something so small could carry such power. So here we are, full circle, 5 simple foods later, but what we've really uncovered isn't just a menu. It's a mindset, a reframing of what it means to grow older with power instead of fear, with intention instead of surrender. Because while so much of health advice tells you what to cut, what to eliminate, what to avoid, this journey has shown you what to add, what to invite in, what to lean on. And when you're over 60, that shift from restriction to nourishment may be the most liberating discovery of all, because the truth is, your body still wants to fight for you, but it can only do so if you feed it the tools it needs. Not with gimmicks, not with punishing rules, but with steady, real food that your cells recognize and welcome. And that's exactly what garlic, oats, beets, tomatoes, and sardines offer. Not just nutrients, but instructions for your liver to calm down, for your blood vessels to open, for your inflammation to quiet, and for your energy to return. Because each of these foods speaks a language your body understands, and together they form a daily dialogue of healing, resilience, and renewal. And what's even more encouraging is that the impact isn't theoretical, it's personal. Real people like Harold, George, Carol, Dennis, and Ralph didn't change everything. They just made one change at a time. A clove of garlic here, a bowl of oats there, a side of beets with dinner, a ladle of tomato sauce over pasta, a sardine. Toast on a quiet morning, and those tiny decisions, repeated gently, quietly, became the turning point, the before and after in their health story. And that's the lesson, isn't it? That it doesn't take a revolution to change your trajectory. It takes consistency, trust, and the courage to try again. And maybe today, that's your next step too. Not a crash diet or a drastic overhaul, but a single loving choice for yourself, for your heart, for your next chapter. Because no matter your age, your kitchen still holds power, your plate still holds potential, and your body, yes, even now, still holds the capacity to thrive. You are not too old to heal, not too far gone to stabilize, not too tired to improve. You are still in motion, and that means there is still room to rise. And if the world hasn't told you this recently, let me say it loud and clear. You have more control than you've been led to believe, not by denying yourself, but by supporting yourself. So let today be the day you stop asking, what do I need to give up? And start asking, what can I build in? Because the future you want doesn't begin with fear. It begins with food, with garlic in your soup, oats in your breakfast, beets on your salad, tomatoes in your sauce, sardines on your toast, and with one small promise to yourself: I will treat my body like it still matters, because it does.